Well, you gotta be flipping my flapjacks. Look at that public account, new all-time high here today, nearly $3.4 million. Congratulations to everyone who hit all-time highs today. Let me know in the comment section if your portfolios hit all-time highs today. I would love to hear from you guys in that comment section. Incredible move, obviously, from where we were at 3 years ago. 3 years ago, the public count was at 1.1 million, and to now see us just under 3.4 million is absolutely beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful move. We've been fortunate over the past 30 months to just absolutely have a great time in the market, right? And I posted this inside my private stock group. I said there's certain time periods you need to kill it in the market. The past 2.5 years represent a time period like that. What a time it has been. Congrats to all that have been invested this past 30 months. And you know, you go through these like 2 to 3 year spans where there's just so much money to be made. And of course, there's always money to be made in the stock market, regardless if the market's going up or down. You just have to be positioned properly, right? But there's certain time periods that are really just big time money makers where you're going to be able to scale your portfolios to higher highs than you ever thought possible. And I mean, we go back 3 years ago, looking at the public count at 1.1 mil, who would have thought, 36 months later, we'd be at around $3.4 million. Like, what a change. And I'm sure a lot of you guys that have been investing this past, 2 to 3 years, you've seen your portfolio grow immensely, and you're looking at numbers that you're like, dang, man, 2 or 3 years ago, I couldn't imagine my portfolio being this big, and now you're at those sorts of numbers. So congratulations to everybody out there. No, we have some massive developments, and I got to speak about this first development right off the bat around these Trump accounts, okay? Because it's very rare that something is happening in the government that could absolutely be huge for the overall stock market. I want to explain what's going on there so everybody kind of gets that, right? Google McDougal. This is a relatively new position for me in the public count. I first added the stock in April 2025, April 23rd to be exact, right? And so far we're up $9,100. Now, this was a huge weekend for Google, and the reason being is one of their businesses was all over the internet, all over social media. I mean, it was trending everywhere. Waymo has been trending for the past several days. And the reason being is they got caught up in this whole LA protest and whatnot. And so I want to talk about what's going on there, why it matters for Waymo, because this is actually huge for Waymo, what's going on here. And I'm like, man, people are totally missing like what's actually going on here, okay? Meta is the biggest position in the public count, $1.1 million position now at this point in time. Several big things are going on for Meta right now that I got to talk about, okay? This news just broke here today. Meta in talks over scale AI investment that could exceed $10 billion. Now, I want to talk about this scale AI company, what they do, what matters for this investment, how does it differ from a company like Palantir? Because you see a company like this scale AI and you're like, wait a minute, is this like another Palantir type company, a competitor of Palantir? We'll speak about that and I'll explain that. Additionally, there's something very exciting going on with the Meta glasses right now. Everybody's always, tied up in what's going on with Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram because those are the big money drivers. But this Meta product has been taken off, and there's a huge thing that I need to explain that's going on out there in regards to those Meta glasses, okay? AMD. AMD's rolling right now. Now we're up $25,000 plus on AMD in the public count. And it seems like just yesterday we were negative on AMD. Like, look at how negative I was on AMD back in April. Oh my gosh, like I must have been easily $50,000, $75,000, if not $100,000 negative on AMD. Probably not $100,000, but probably in that $50,000 to $75,000 range, right? And now already up $25,000 plus, AMD is rolling. What's going on with this stock? I'll explain that in this video and where that stock's headed from here, okay? Cake is another one that's rolling. Cake is now super close to all-time highs. This is the highest Cake stock has been in like 4 years, if not over 4 years. So I need to explain what's going on with Cake. Now we're at $58,000 on that stock in the public account, and that doesn't even include the dividends received, right? So what's going on with Cake? Folks, this is an action-packed video. We're going to get straight into it. Only one thing I need from you. I hope you can do it. I need you just to smash that thumbs up button. That's all I ask in return. Even if you don't usually do that for other people on YouTube, please do it for me. That's all I need in this life, okay? Just smash the like button. That's all I need. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you can certainly subscribe. We're now, how many subscribers do we have on the channel? I think it's over 860,000 or something like that. So I appreciate every single one of you for being here, okay? So, look at this. Right off the bat, we got a rare, massive thing for the stock market that has something to do with the government, okay? So there's this development here on basically the Trump administration. Trump specifically is trying to push through this thing, which is money accounts for growth and advancement, or MAGA accounts, they call them, okay? Which would seed index fund accounts with $1,000 in government funds for U.S. citizens born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028. Now, if this program does start, my guess is it will probably be continued for future presidents as well, whether they're Republican or Democrat. But that's if this gets through, right? The tax-deferred accounts, which track the overall U.S. stock market, allow additional contributions of up to $5,000 per year. The seed money will be funded by the Treasury Department and controlled by the child's guardians, a la parents. Funds can be distributed once the beneficiary turns 18 years old. Now, a couple things here before we get in the good of this. One, this could get blocked. It could get blocked. This is not a guarantee to go through. It's looking decent, I would say, right now, but it might still get blocked. Second thing is, okay, the government gives the $1,000 to the kids, right, in this fund. There's also a potential the parents never contribute anything to it. So do keep that in mind, okay? But here's a deal, okay? Michael Dell came out, and he said that if the government does this, essentially Dell will then match what the government does. So they would then put $1,000 in this fund for every of their employees that has a kid, essentially, okay? And so then you got $1,000 going into the stock market from the government. You got another $1,000 going in for a company like Dell, if this ends up going through, right? Which is pretty substantial. Also, Uber CEO Dara, is for this. Goldman Sachs, David Solomon was there as well today. He's very excited about it, right? Now, based upon this, $1,000 times 3.6 million children are born a year, roughly. It's about $3.6 billion a year of inflow to the stock market. Now, keep in mind, $3.6 billion in government terms is actually not a big number. It's not like this is some budget blowing, like, oh my gosh, like this, they're going to blow up the budget with this. Like, no, like $3.6 billion, sadly enough, for the government in this day and age is just a rounding error. To be honest, this would just be a rounding error, which is why I think it has a pretty decent probability of going through, right? But it would be $3.6 billion a year of inflow, right? That's basically kind of like locked away. It's basically locked away until the kid turns 18, right? Now, keep in mind, my guess is if this does go through and they execute it well, which keep in mind when the government's involved, it might not be executed well, but let's say it is executed well. I think there's a lot of parents, grandparents, and companies that will add a lot of money to the kids' funds here, right? Especially if they do it in a way that makes it very easy for them to add capital. We know grandparents love to give money when their grandchildren are born, right? And so it's very common. I know at least in my family, the grandparents usually always gave a savings bond to all the kids born. Keep in mind, I was born in the 80s. A lot of my cousins were all born in the 80s or the 90s. So savings bonds were like huge. And so every time, a new grandkid was born, some got like $1,000 of savings bonds. Some of the earlier kids, somebody like myself, I think I got either $100 or $250 in government savings bonds. So, and of course that was more money back in those days than it is today, right? But yeah, I can see a lot of companies adding to this, grandparents, parents, things like that. So it would be a lot more money to inflow into the stock market overall every single year, right? Because once again, these kids won't be able to touch this money till they're 18. Now, that also brings me to a bigger point here, that it's a fascination for people to kind of hope the S&P 500 trades at that 10 to 15 range PE ratios, right? And I just got to say, get used to seeing 20 plus PE ratios for years and years to go in the stock market. I'm showing you the past 30 years, the past 3 decades of where PE ratios have been. What do we see consistently the past 3 decades? We see PE ratios 20 plus, right? Now, with the stock market being easier than ever to invest into, attracting more capital than ever, including even likely government capital now at this point in time, right? At the end of the day, you just have to get used to the fact that PE ratios are going to be 20 plus. Outside of some insane crash in the short term, or if interest rates go to like 10, 20% or something like that, outside of those scenarios, it's going to be very common over the coming decades to expect what you've been seeing, honestly, for the last several decades, which is PE ratios of 20 plus. And so you just got to get used to it, right? Now, additionally, US stocks remain the place to be. And here's why. And here's how most people look at these other alternatives. Because you got to think, do you put money in US stocks or do you put money in something else? Okay. Well, what do you have options to? Bitcoin. Some, a very select few love Bitcoin. They're happy to invest as much as they can in Bitcoin, right? Other people are like, I don't trust that at all. I wouldn't stick my enemy's money in Bitcoin, right? Other people are like, I trust it a little bit. I'll put a little bit of capital into Bitcoin, right? But the masses, no. Bitcoin's not their thing, right? Gold. The masses don't like gold. It's a sleepy asset. Look at its performance over the past, 15, 20 years. It's a sleepy asset. The last year has been really good in gold, or at least the last 6 to 12 months been really good in gold, but for the most part, gold's sleepy, right? Silver. You could invest in silver. People say, why would I invest in silver? I'll just buy gold, right? That's what a lot of the masses kind of say. International stocks. International stocks is just a fancy way of saying you want to underperform the stock market in the US. That's all it is, man. And so the masses kind of look at international stocks and like, okay, so I could buy a bunch of stocks I don't even, use or even know these companies, and I'm going to likely make less money. No, I'll stick to US stocks. Thank you very much, right? And then there's real estate. The problem with real estate is people stress about that, right? If you want to real estate invest, people are like, that sounds complicated. There's stress involved with that. Things going on with the property. They're like, that sounds like work. That sounds like work. And then people say, in a lot of cities, you can't even make any good money on real estate investing right now. I'm serious. Like if you look at many of the big cities, whatever you would pay for a mortgage payment on a property, you'd make no money right now. You might even lose money on a month-to-month basis. So real estate is just, people are like, no. So at the end of the day, the place to be remains United States stock market. And that's from a global perspective because of all those issues that other things have, right? Alrighty, next up here, Google McDougal. So huge weekend for Google. It was in the news everywhere because of what happened in LA, right? And essentially this kind of marked like the epicenter of what was going on in LA this weekend over the whole ICE crackdowns and all that stuff, right? And people are pushing back against that. Some people are really mad. Some people are happy at the ICE crackdowns. You got people on both sides. And so some people are happy. Some people are very upset, clearly, right? And so Waymos were being burned left and right. I mean, not left and right. There was a few Waymos burned. It's not like there was like 600 Waymos taken out. No, it was like a few, right? And so roughly the dollar amount that they said was affected was around $600,000 of cars was burned, right? Now, here's the thing. This was like at least $100 million in free marketing, in my opinion. Like you couldn't have spent enough money to generate this sort of publicity for Waymo. Waymo looks like the victim in the end, right? Because they had nothing to do with this. It was just self-driving cars driving around. And meanwhile, they're the subject of conversation all weekend that these self-driving Waymos were all, several of them were burned this weekend, right? So they look like the victim, and it just got them massive publicity. So people that never even heard of Waymo were talking about Waymo this weekend. Like the amount of people that never heard of Waymo before or like now well aware that these Waymos exist and they have no drivers inside, and they're like, oh, that's interesting, and it happened in there. These vehicles are in LA. That's an interesting thing, right? So I would say this is a bare minimum of $100 million in free marketing. So $600,000 of cars was burned, the estimate is, which by the way, that might even be covered by insurance. It might not even come out of Google's pocket, which $600,000, that's probably what Google makes per second. I mean, it's like ridiculous. It's like crazy, right? It's nothing for Google. But 100 million, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of free marketing, I think that's worth it, right? Now, additionally, keep in mind, Google's in a state right now with Waymo where they're expanding to many cities across the United States and will be expanding to many cities across the United States. So any publicity they can get, especially when it's not bad publicity, because it's not their fault their cars got burnt, right? It's just people did that, right? To send a message about something that had nothing to do with Waymo, just to be quite frank. But the moral of the story is here, right, is, they need as much attention as they can get as they get scaled and as they get expanded across the United States over the coming years. And it's very important that they brand themselves as the player in self-driving vehicles, right? That they actually have them in the market right now. You can take rides in these now and not in years from now or something like that, right? So before we get into Meta, AMD, and Cake, I do have to give a big congratulations to 7 people 7 people in the private stock group last week hit, or excuse me, 5 people. 5 people in the private stock group last week hit 7 figures. 7 figures in their portfolio. Wow. And we had 11 people hit 6-figure club. So 6 figures plus in their portfolio last week. So I just signed all up these this morning. My wife sent them out. So congratulations to you guys out there scaling to hit new milestones, 6 figures, 7 figures. I'm sure some of you guys watching this right now have scaled to 8 figures here recently. So congratulations to all you guys. If you're looking to apply to join my private stock group, private wealth group, those trophies, I send those out complimentary. When you're a member of my private stock group, I send those out to you. Once you scale to those sorts of numbers, show proof of that, we do send those out to you or your house complimentary, right? And so if you're looking to apply to our private stock group, get access to all my course curriculums, access to my private Discord chat, see the stocks I'm buying and selling, my $3 million plus Fidelity account, access to 1000xstocks.com, right? All that stuff. Pin comment down there, click on that, fill out a form, see if we can get you access to that a little later on this week. And keep in mind with 1000xstocks.com, we have our search feature, compare feature, earnings calls. We're working right now on adding AI transcripts in, which is going to be beautiful. SEC filings, we have our projections tab for advanced and essentially like intermediate projections. Financials tab, our charts feature, and then our education section, which a lot of you will definitely enjoy. How to decode a balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, how to perform SWOT analysis, strong moats versus weak moats, how to value dividend stocks, how to value growth stocks, dividend investing 101, portfolio management 101, infinite money loop, that you're going to love that one. Basic stock option strategies and advanced option strategies. So pin and comment down there if you want access to all that. You can apply to join us and we'll work on maybe getting you in there a little later on this week, okay? Alrighty, so Meta, biggest position in the public count. It's the big dog. We're up $930,000 on that position, right? So Meta in talks over scale AI investment that could exceed $10 billion, Bloomberg reports. Oh my gosh. Meta is in talks to make an investment that could exceed $10 billion in artificial intelligence startup Scale AI. Now, I don't know why they call it startup because this company's been around a little bit now. Bloomberg News report on Sunday. The terms of the deal were not yet finalized and could still change, the report said, citing people familiar with the matter. Sounds about right. Scale AI declined to comment, and Meta did not immediately respond to Reuters' request for comment outside regular business hours. Founded in 2016, which once again, why they call it a startup when it's founded in 2016? Like, the company's like almost a decade old now at this point in time. Scale AI is a data labeling startup backed by tech giants such as nvidia, Amazon, and Meta. Could it be 3 better backers? Like literally, if you had to pick 3 companies to back your company in the whole world, you would probably start with NVIDIA, Amazon, and Meta, right? Like, oh my gosh. Last valued at nearly $14 billion, Scale AI also provides a platform for researchers to exchange AI-related information with contributors in more than 9,000 cities and towns. So Scale AI, make the best models with the best data. Scale Data Engine powers nearly every major foundation model. With Scale Gen AI platform leverages your enterprise data to unlock the value of AI, right? And obviously on the front page, they brag about Microsoft, uses them, Meta uses them, Cisco, even companies like GM and Time, and then OpenAI is on the front page as well, right? So clearly, this company is extremely important for these very large, very successful companies in the AI space, right? Now, if you're wondering kind of what's the deal between this company and Palantir, they seem like very different business models. Scale AI and Palantir are companies in the AI space, but they differ in their core offerings and target markets. Scale AI focuses on data labeling and model evaluation, essentially providing the ingredients for AI models, while Palantir offers broader enterprise AI platforms for analyzing and leveraging data. So I'll put it to you like this, okay? If I was a company maybe making LLMs or foundation models or doing anything in that realm, I would probably go to a company like Scale AI versus go to a company like Palantir. However, let's say I'm a big Fortune 500 company. Let's say I'm a big beverage maker, right? And I need my company has data spread all over this thing. It's my big, massive company, and I need my data all in one place. And I need the data to be intelligent and be able to tell me you should do this next, you should do that next, right? And leverage all that data to tell me problems that are going to arise that I might not see, or other humans that are running the company that I might not see, right? How to better utilize this data in a much more intelligent way, right? So we can figure out how to sell more, whether we can figure out how to save cost, doing this or doing that. So that would be a Palantir project. That I'm gonna use Palantir for. I'm not gonna use a scale AI company for something like that. So they're very different use cases. Okay, very, very different use cases. So, and this is gonna be something that's confusing to investors over this next bit of time, because you're gonna hear a lot of companies over this next many years, they're an AI company. And so you're like, wait, are they like an AI company as in like Palantir? Or are they like a scale AI? Or are they like Databricks? Or what are they like? These companies are all going to be very, very different, right? There's some that will have similarities or overlaps, but a lot of them are going to be very different. Even you look at Meta. Meta's an AI company, but Meta, the way they're going to compete in AI is very different than the way Palantir competes in AI versus the way Scale AI competes in AI. These companies are very, very different. Or even a company like Amazon for that matter, okay? And even Google, the way Google leverages AI, very different than even Meta would utilize AI. So do keep in mind, a lot of these companies are competing in AI, but doing it in very different ways. It's not like these companies are all going head to head and just fighting over the same customers. No, it's not the way it works. You need different companies for different things, right? No, these AI Ray-Ban Meta glasses, which I actually have a pair, it's pretty interesting what they've done recently. So they're doing this essentially live translation, where let's say you speak French, I speak English. We could actually have a conversation and it'll do translation in real time so we can have as smooth of a conversation as possible, right? Now, I've watched some of these different translations. Some of them work well, some of them don't work well. The product needs more refinement, right? It needs to get up to a higher and higher level. But the moral of the story is this is the future, and this is going to be massive, in my opinion. And the reason this is so massive for Meta, and I'll explain why it's so big for Meta as a product over time, but keep in mind, Meta is a worldwide company. Instagram's all over the world. Facebook is all over the world. WhatsApp's all over the world, right? If you're somebody that does business, which how does Meta make all its money? From advertising, right? If Meta can do anything to make it easier for somebody in China to talk to somebody in the United States, to talk to somebody in France, to talk to somebody in Belgium and Germany and, Japan, wherever, South Korea, then more business can be conducted. If more business can be conducted on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, right? More ads can be run, more business success can happen, more money can be made by companies because their friction of like not being able to communicate with each other is alleviated, which means more money being spent on advertisements on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and those sorts of things. So it grows the whole pie. So this is very, very big as this translation technology. It's not like it's impossible to, like, let's say you're a drop shipper, right? And you use Facebook for your advertising and you use Instagram for your advertising, you use Shopify as your e-commerce platform, but you drop ship different items from China, right? And you need to communicate with those folks. Like, you could get it done today, but it's not like it's a great process. It's not very easy. If you could hop on a Zoom call, but not Zoom, right? Like something that's through a Facebook platform, whatever, and be able to communicate back and forth, like it helps you do business better, right? And it alleviates kind of a pain point there. And anything you could do easier is going to end up meaning, in the end, more money in Meta's pockets, right? But additionally, I think this can help the Meta glasses really take off, right? And so let me give you an example. Let's say I live in Vegas. I do not speak Japanese, but let's say I want to go to Japan with my wife, right? Wouldn't it be great if I could be wearing a product like Meta glasses, and imagine it's 3 years in the future, and I go to Japan and I'm able to conversate in a very easy way with folks in Japan. I'm able to understand them even though they're speaking Japanese. And it's very easy for me to understand exactly what they're saying, for me to see a menu, let's say, or whatever it is, right? Some sort of document, and I can just say, Meta, what does that say? And even though it's all in Japanese, it's going to be able to say exactly what this sign says or what this document says or whatever, right? Makes my life a whole lot easier. It makes me say these Meta glasses are very valuable. They're worth a lot more than I spent on them, right? Let's say you're a Chinese citizen, you live in Shanghai, China. You want to come to my city. You want to come to Vegas, baby. We know the Chinese. They love to gamble. They love to come to Vegas, right? So instead of coming to Vegas and there's hardly anybody to talk to, and keep in mind there are some dealers, especially at the high-end resorts like the Wynn and whatnot, that do have some dealers that do speak fluent in Mandarin, right? But there's also, most don't. And so imagine you go on a trip from Shanghai to Vegas and you're wearing a device like Meta glasses or something like that, and you can easily talk to the dealers or people that work at the restaurant, waiters and things like that, and able to communicate effectively in an easy manner with these sorts of folks, right? And as more and more people understand like how important this technology is, then you start to have the staff needing to wear things like that, right? Because imagine this technology is so good you could have a fluent conversation. Why would let's say Wynn Resorts not want to have a device like this? If they could easily have a device like this in all their employees' ears, right, that could easily translate, because you got to understand a company like Wynn, they got customers coming from Latin America that don't speak English well, or China or Japan, wherever, right? Why would you not buy your entire employee force a device like this so they could easily be able to communicate back and forth with your customers instead of it being that awkward, like, I don't know what he's saying, I don't know what she's saying, does anybody speak blah 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 language? Like, it's like an awkward whole situation, right? Imagine if you could have a natural conversation and it's translating everything for you as you have that conversation. That's what we call a killer app, folks. And if you want to know like how the iPhone took off, right? Here's the deal. The iPhone took off for one core reason. It had a killer app. The killer app was the internet, right? And Safari. Prior to that, cell phones were already loved and didn't really need any tweaking. People loved the text conversations you had it. They loved their BlackBerry devices. They loved the ability to call. They loved that they would have an iPod as well that they could listen to music with. There was no issue with the phone that made everybody say, I hate phones. Like, I don't remember being in high school and everybody saying, I hate phones. I can't wait till a new phone comes out. No. Everybody loved their phones. People had the sidekicks. Anybody remember the sidekick phones? For some of you youngins, you're probably like, what the heck? Is he speaking a foreign language right now? Remember the sidekicks? Man, the Blackberries, like, whew, all those devices were like great in their day. But then iPhone came out. And the thing that really made people say, I got to go get this iPhone, was the fact that it had a good internet browser. And that did not exist prior to iPhone. The internet experience was complete trash on any of those old devices. But then iPhone came out and said, we got this great internet, and people are like, oh my gosh, like this is basically like using internet on a laptop or a computer, but it's on my phone? Sign me up. And so that's what we're talking about. If you want the masses to really buy a product like the Meta glasses, instead of just like, people that are kind of really forward looking on technology, you need killer apps. You need things that make people say, this is so awesome. This is way better than like if I didn't have this device. It makes my life way easier and better. Boom. That's how you get the masses to adopt. And then if you're Meta, that's how, when you just keep building on it. And next thing you know, maybe you have the replacement of the phone, right? I know as of today, it's very hard for us to even imagine a replacement of our smartphones today, but don't be surprised if that gets replaced in 10, 20 years, right? There's a lot of devices and things that we've had over time that we could never imagine that being replaced until a new technology came out and replaced that thing. And then we said, we don't really have as much of a need for that thing anymore, right? Technology moves on, and that's how you capture new platforms. But you need killer apps if you're really going to have something take off. And I'm like, stuff like that, big time, right? AMD. What's going on with AMD? Up $25,000 now at this point in time. It's over $120 a share. Well, here's the deal. Fascinating. So the surge today was followed by a positive revision from Citigroup, which maintained their buy rating and increased their price target on the semiconductor giant from $100 to $120. What? The stock's over $120 today. How are you going to have a buy rating on AMD? And your price target, which these price targets are usually 12-month out price targets, right? How are you going to have a buy rating? This is why analysts are not respected. I'll just be honest with you guys. This is why the analyst community is not respected on a high level. You have a buy rating on AMD stock, and your 12-month price target is $120, which is lower than the stock is today. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You might as well have a sell rating on it. if you expect the stock to only be $120 a year from now. Come on. Come on. This is ridiculous. This is why people don't respect analysts, right? But that came out. People got excited about that. Now, the analyst price increase comes just days before AMD's highly anticipated Advancing AI event on Thursday. At the event, CEO Lisa Su, among other industry leaders, are expected to unveil AMD's vision for the future of artificial intelligence, including updates on its end-to-end AI solutions and product ecosystem. The full-day event will feature sessions for developers, customers, and business leaders, with major sponsors including Dell, Lenovo, and Oracle. Now, the reason this matters so significantly beyond all that is for the investor community. When I say the investor community, I'm not talking about average Joe investors like you and me. I'm talking about for Wall Street. Wall Street doesn't get it yet in regards to AMD, their future, what's going on here, how they're going to differ in the market over the next 5-10 years versus NVIDIA, right? How they're relevant. I mean, you still got people like Stacy Razcon, who extreme levels of disrespect about a month or two ago when he went on record saying, like, I'm not even sure we need them. It was such a disrespectful statement from somebody that's supposed to be a semiconductor expert, right? And it just shows me that I don't think he's properly really looking into what AMD's up to here to even make a statement like that, right? Now, this event, let's say the stock just goes full risk on over the next few days, right? It could always be a sell the news come the actual event, because a lot of times you got buy the rumor, sell the news in the stock market. So if, let's say, the stock just continues to roll huge Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like maybe the stock then pulls back Friday or something like that, right? But the thing I'll say, if Lisa Su and the team are able to really make Wall Street understand the vision here on how AMD is going to perform in the marketplace, why they're going to grow immensely over the next few years, if they can do that, do understand $200 plus is coming for AMD fast. We're not talking about like 5 years from now. No, we're talking about like in the next few months. You'll see AMD go 200 plus. But that's if Lisa Su and the team can really get Wall Street to understand the vision here, because they don't get it yet. The analyst community, they don't get it yet. I mean, I talked about Stacy Razcon, that guy earlier. What about the analyst that just has up their price target to $120? I mean, come on, man. That's ridiculous. Like, absolutely ridiculous. So at a forward P of 20 right now on the stock, right? 20, this stock should be trading far higher than this. And so if Wall Street gets a vision, 200 plus will be incoming for this one, right? Now, keep in mind, if that does happen, times my 2,555 shares in the public count, I'll be looking at a position that will be $500,000 plus, which will be definitely very, very beautiful, okay? Because a lot of us retail investors, we get it, man. Like, we understand the game. We understand what AMD's up to. We understand how they differentiate themselves in the market, right? We understand that they have a great opportunity when it comes to inference over this next 5 to 10 years, right? And we understand MI350's likely going to be scaling over this next few months or next few quarters, and then we understand MI400 is going to be huge. But I just don't think a lot of Wall Street gets it or understands it or anything like that. So if they can make big inroads there, next, the thing with the AMD stock, this stock has been kind of a cold stock for the last several years. I'm not talking months, years. AMD also hits 150, 175, 200 plus, then hits new all-time highs. The amount of hype and excitement that will start to build around AMD is going to be ridiculous. Then we have their next earnings coming out, which their next earnings will come out probably in about a month and a half to 2 months from now. If they have a big guidance number, like let's imagine Wall Street gets this event and they're like, okay, like we get it now, like the AMD is going to be huge, right? And then they come out with a big guidance number next quarter, which is what Wall Street's really going to be looking for. The amount of hype and excitement that will start in AMD at that time, it will be at a fever pitch. And you'll have everybody and their grandma trying to pile into AMD at that point in time, because people are going to be like, oh my gosh, like AMD's got it. Like they're about to post some crazy growth rates over this next few years. And you'll even see some money rotate from even stocks like NVIDIA that are still going to be putting up very respectable numbers over the next few years, but just because NVIDIA's kind of lost that hype cycle and that excitement cycle. And I think it's really shifted and started to shift into AMD. It's already shifted kind of in the retail community. Like I think a lot of retail investors are a lot more excited about AMD for the next few years than nvidia, but we're kind of early to the game. I think Wall Street's the next level, and that's where the big money's at. Like, okay, I buy 300, how much did I put in AMD? Like less than $300,000 in the public account. Let's say across all my portfolios, let's say I have $500,000 invested, right? It's nothing. It's literally nothing compared to Wall Street money. These fund managers could come in and buy, $50 million of AMD in a day, $100 million of AMD stock in a day. And over the course of a week, they could add a $600 million position. You know what I mean? Like there's just levels. And so just understand, if Wall Street gets this, oh my gosh. No, Cake. What's going on with Cake? This stock is near all-time highs now at this point in time. It's getting very dang close. It's at multi-year highs, right? And it just seems to be relentless in its pursuit of going to 60 plus, right? So what's going on here? Well, the Russell's rolling. And you got to understand the Russell matters so much for stocks like Cake, right? And you look at that Russell, since we hit those lows in April, it's just basically been up in a straight line, right? I mean, it had a dip here or there, but at the end of the day, like, that's a very powerful move there. Keep in mind, the Russell is still several hundred points away from an all-time high. So what happens when the Russell hits a new all-time high? What is a stock like Cake at that point in time? $65, $70, $75 a share? Additionally, I think people are starting to understand the story around Cake, and that this isn't just you're just buying Cheesecake Factory stock that owns a Cheesecake Factory. No. You're getting that, plus you're getting several growth concepts that have the next 5 to 10 years of expansion ahead. And that's why you see me. It seems like almost every week I buy Cake stock because it's such an easy stock for me to buy. I don't have to stress about it. It trades at still very low P ratios compared to the market in general, compared to, countless other growth companies in the restaurant space. Such an easy stock for me to buy. And I love it, man. Absolutely love it. And I can continue to buy this one. And I make that dividend money as well, which doesn't even get accounted for in these total gains here, right? In regards to stock. Like, it's just awesome. It's awesome, man. And so Cake, if this Russell continues to roll and more people understand the story, especially Wall Streeters, you'll see Cake continue to perform, and next thing you know, it'll be $70, $80 a share, and then we'll be talking about 100 plus, right? All right, guys, appreciate you joining me as always. Thank you so much for being here. If you're looking to take your investing up to a much higher level than where you're at, you can apply to join Private Stock Group, Private Wealth Group. Pinned comment down there, fill out a form, see if we can get you access to that maybe a little later on this week. When you join us in there, I'll send you your Steel membership card for the Private Stock Group, and I'll send you a Steel membership card for 1000X as well, baby. Absolutely beautiful. Alrighty, much love. Appreciate you joining me, and have a great day.